Are these $700 because they look good or because Awake backdoored all their pairs? You tell me. What's up, sneaker people? It's your boy FB Kicks and Gear, and I am back with another video. And this time we are following up on part 2 of my Jordan 5 Awake Arctic Pink series, where we do a deep dive on the real versus fake, and we educate ourselves so that we're making sure that when we're looking for an authentic pair, we are buying an authentic pair. So my first video, I actually did the initial deep dive where I went through all the aspects of the shoe. Now this video, I'm going to be speed running through it and hitting all the main points that I saw in the other video, because I'm getting better at legit checking these. So thank you, and yeah, let's get into the second part of our legit checking series. So yeah, here is my authentic pair that I got from Awake. I won it on the EQL raffle, thankfully. And this pair here on the right is the Replica. This is actually Y3 batch. So for the people that are asking, that is the batch for this. I've been able to identify this, and I think Y3 batch is probably the only batch worth getting right now. And you can find more pictures of the Replica on the Instagram account that's going to pop up on the screen. The more you know about the reps, the more you can identify the authentic pair. So that's what we're here for. So with all that said, let's get into the video. And very similar to the first video we did, the boxes are going to be a really quick legit checking indicator, because one, the box size is always an issue no matter what. For whatever reason, they just don't get the box sizes right. Who knows? Maybe they make the smaller boxes because the Asian market just has smaller feet in general, so they stop at a certain size. I don't know, but either way, you can see the differences in the boxes, and you can see how the authentic box presents as well. Replica boxes are always beat up, and you can see it. You can actually see the corrugated cardboard kind of poking through, but most importantly, you see the box size, and you can see that the Awake symbol and Jumpman are different colors on both, and they're defined differently. They have a little bit different definition, and hopefully you guys can see it. The debossing, embossing, whatever, is just more puffy on the Replica, and it's definitely more crisp and flat on the authentic pair. So pay attention to the color, pay attention to the size. And with the box comes these stickers. This is the Replica sticker, and this is the authentic sticker. And much like the other pair that we saw, the Replica has a dark maroon red accent for the Jumpman and the Nike and all that stuff on both sides. It's super prevalent here on the Nike Awake NY and the Jumpman. You can also see that the backing, or I should say the white paper that they use for these, are different colors too. The authentic one is almost a creamier color, while the Replica is a bright white. One more thing to note about the box: the cement print is a different color on the authentic compared to the Replica, and this is the case across the board, whether it is Jordan 4s or Jordan 5s or Jordan 6s. They do not get the print right. You can see that color difference, but that is the box. If you guys want to see a more detailed box breakdown, look at my last video. Let's jump straight into the shoes. So here we have the shoes right next to each other, and there's a lot of what was going on with the first pair is going on with this pair as well. There are a couple of things that just makes the Replica like 85% of the way there when it comes to accuracy. The whole image is more or less the same, but it does have issues. So the first thing that I want to point out is that the leathers definitely don't feel exactly the same. The leather on the Replica is a bit stiffer, although this feels softer than the first pair that I did. Feels a little bit closer to the authentic, but the leather is definitely stiffer and it's not as plush. And you can see how when you press in on the authentic pair, the wrinkling is localized to just to where you're pushing it, and that's usually how I indicate whether a leather is soft or not, because when it is not soft, you'll get a lot of surface tension and you'll get a lot of reaction out of the entire area as opposed to just where you press. But when you press, you see that it's localized to where you're touching it. So this is definitely a softer leather than the first pair, but it's not as soft. You know, from there you start noticing the little details that the replica doesn't get right. This little shape here is massive compared to my authentic pair. And one of the things that I want to reiterate, my authentic pair is a size 11.5. The replica is a size 11. So if there's going to be a difference in size and features, it should be on the smaller pair. And this feature right here is massive. And the stitching is overall different when it comes to comparing the authentic to the rep. You guys can see that. Another thing that I'm pointing out is that this piece of leather is showing, indicating that the way this is structured is different in the authentic pair. You can see that when this lace goes over, it covers it almost entirely, but you see a large gap there at the bottom. To me, that indicates that we're probably going to see some sizing issues in terms of the mold for this shoe. Turning it over to the side, you get another good view, and you can starting to see some of the differences. First big difference that I can see is that there's a difference in color between the shark teeth on the rep compared to the shark teeth on the authentic pair. You can see it's a darker red, and you've got like a finish difference. The authentic pair looks a little bit glossier, and the rep doesn't have that same gloss finish. The suedes look a lot closer together than they did in the first video, but you're getting a little bit more texture and hair out of the authentic pair than you are out of the replica, for sure. But the A's look more or less the same. The stitching around and the cutout look more or less the same, and this little triangle is placed in a similar way. Maybe a slight difference in color. The triangle on the replica is a little bit brighter of a pink than the triangle of the A on the authentic. Moving over to the soles, we have a similar situation before. I don't know why, but the replica outsoles are just different. It's very icy blue on the rep, and you can see that even the black rubbers come off differently. They've got a different finish and different shine to them. Moving on to the back of the shoe, this is where the issues with reps, especially Jordan 5s, comes into play. Not only do you have a difference in color between the pink leather of the authentic compared to the pink leather of the replica, but you have a overall fatter, bulkier shoe in the replica, and you can see that here in the back. Again, my authentic pair is a half size bigger, but when you start looking at the shapes, authentic here on the top, the replica just looks overall bigger and bulkier when compared from a sizing perspective. So keep that in mind. I don't know if they'll improve that in the future, but as of now, definitely we have a sizing difference. In terms of the Nike Air, pretty good, I would say. If you guys are good at picking out embroidery, go for it. I'll leave this still here for you, but I probably wouldn't use the Nike Air to legit check. I do see some differences, but I'm not entirely sure. You're not going to see some of those differences on authentic pairs as well. So from there, we can look at the inside of the shoe, and you see a slight difference in color when it comes to that inner sock liner. I say the authentic just has a bit brighter of a sock liner, maybe a little bit deeper of a red than the replica. And that extends to the back of the tongue as well. You can see that, you know, and we'll do that thing where here's the authentic embroidery for the 1 out of 7,000. Honestly, it's not the best quality embroidery, but I'll show you the replica and I'll get them side by side. You can see the embroidery on the replica. So in my opinion, the replica embroidery looks a bit better and it's a little bit more legible, but part of me thinks that was like a last minute decision that Jordan Brand and Awake made to differentiate some stuff, but there's definitely a text difference. Speaking of the tongue though, you can see that the shines and the finishes of the replica tongue compared to the authentic tongue are very, very different. It's hard to explain because they're definitely both 3M, but the authentic is a glossier, lighter of a gray, more of a 3M, and the replica is a more muted matte 3M gray. So they come off differently. but the embroidery looks pretty good when you compare them to each other. I'm actually pretty impressed about that. And another thing that I know that replicas struggle with when it comes to fives is this jagged kind of line here. This is something that they struggle with a lot, and it's something that authentic Jordan 5s used to struggle with too, but thankfully they've gotten their shit together and they've got a nice cleaner looking tongue when compared to each other, but the replica still has that kind of jagged edge there, so that's definitely something to look at. Outside of that, a lot of the same kind of things that we noticed before are there. The pink laces are different colors. The white laces are different colors. The white laces on the rep are like almost like an eggnog color in comparison, and the texture and knit pattern of the laces are different too, and you can see it by how even when they're side by side rolled up, you can see that the edges of the laces look different. And the same thing can be said for the red laces as well. The laces on the authentic are just a bit more vibrant of a red when compared to the replica. Another thing to point out, the Nike hang tag and the laces are on the same shoe for the authentic pair, and they are on different shoes for the replica. So right shoe has the tag, left shoe has the laces. They're all in one on the left shoe of the authentic. But let's take a look at that tag while we're here. And these tags have always been something that replicas struggle with, and it's just color differences, finish differences, the crispness in the text. They're just different, especially when you get to that crystallized matte side. You can see that the text on the replica is just blurrier and not as bold, or I should say not as clean. But outside of that, there isn't really much else. I'm not going to do a blacklight test this time because I've done it off camera and it's the same blacklight test as the previous rep. So please visit my last video and take a look at that, which is interesting because this rep is definitely a little bit different when compared to that, but the things on the blacklight test are still exactly the same. You've got a color discrepancy in the air units too. And this is something that I've been noticing a lot recently because I've been doing a lot of Jordan 4s and Jordan 5s, but always pay attention to that air unit. You can see that the air unit on the replica is like a very bright white, but the authentic pair is actually like a sail cream color. So hopefully you guys can see that, but they are different in color. Outside of that, if you guys want to see a side-by-side with the embroidery, we can do that. Here's the Nike embroidery. The red on the authentic embroidery is definitely a brighter red. The stitching pattern's also a little bit different, especially when you look at the shadows. And the same can be said for the 23s. So that's gonna wrap up the video, guys. Like I said, if you want to see a blacklight test, please head over to my last video. It is the same exact blacklight test. But yeah, guys, are these shoes authenticatable? Are they legit checkable? 100%. These are going to be a very good passable rep on foot, but I don't think these are fooling anyone. The authentic pairs were done very well, very beautifully on this new Jordan 5 silhouette. They really paid attention to the details on this. QC is very, very good, much better than the Undefeated 4s, even though I think the Undefeated 4s are a better shoe than this, but very well done from Nike and Jordan Brand. I just can't justify keeping them if they're going to keep going up in price. I could just get so much more, especially with those fragments coming out. Maybe I'll include these in a trade. But with that said, guys, that's it. Remember, you can find more pictures of the replica on the Instagram account that's going to pop up on the screen. Do your research, folks. Do your research. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.